Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. Today's story is from the year 1962. It's a story set 15 years after India gained independence. At that time, the officers of India's intelligence department received some information. There was news that in many Indian states, the former royals who had lost their ruling powers after independence were now secretly stockpiling weapons. And not just any weapons. These were foreign arms smuggled into the country. The intelligence officers began to investigate why these former royal families suddenly needed such weapons. What were they preparing for? This led to a full-scale investigation by the intelligence agency. During the investigation, the officers received a lead. Following up on this clue on September 29, 1962, agency officers along with police officers went to a five-star hotel in Delhi. Their target was a specific room in the hotel. It was a government hotel and they had information about a particular room number. When the officers entered that room, they found a guest named Daniel, an American citizen and an extremely wealthy man. As they searched the room, they discovered over 700 cartridges. Finding such a large quantity of ammunition in the room of a foreign guest was a serious issue. The police immediately took Daniel into custody and arrested him, taking him to the police station for further questioning. So the police take Daniel to the police station, and after questioning him, they take him to an airport, the one where his private plane, a Piper Apache, a four-seater plane, was parked. The police conduct a thorough search of the plane and find around 4 boxes similar to the ones found in the hotel. Each box contained over 250 cartridges, so the police file a case against him, send him to jail, and after presenting him in court, he is sent to Tihar jail. Daniel stays in Tihar jail, and even though he had a lot of money, the charges against him were quite serious. Yet, just a few months later, the court grants him bail and he is released from jail. The case for illegal possession of cartridges was the one he got bail for. However, another case was filed against him. He owed an Indian company $60,000 at that time. The officers told him, "Return the $60,000 to the company and we'll allow you to go to America." But he was unwilling to pay the money. That's when he really got into trouble. He was out on bail for now, but it was clear he'd have to return to jail soon. Before he could be sent back to jail, he planned to flee to America. But the authorities were trying everything to get him back in jail. Now he was stuck, unsure of what to do. Since he was out on bail, he decided to escape. He didn't want to stay here because staying meant going back to jail. So he made an escape plan. He tried to cross the Wagah border into Pakistan, but the police caught him, brought him back, and sent him to jail again. He tried to escape to Pakistan. As more serious charges started to be filed against him, he received a harsher sentence. But he was lucky because at that time there was a major war going on between India and China. It was the famous 1962 war. So Daniel saw an opportunity and made an offer in court. He said, "I have many private planes and, if you want, these planes could serve your country during the war." When the government heard this, they thought, "An American citizen is offering to help us." At that time, the situation in India was bad. They had lost the war to China. So they said, "All right." He then shared his planes with the Indian forces. The Indian government agreed and told him, "Okay, whatever time you've spent in jail will be considered your punishment. You won't be sent back to prison. But before you return to America, you must repay the money you took from the company. Whatever amount is still due must be returned. Until then, you will not be allowed to leave." Though he had managed to get out of jail by offering his plans to the military, he didn't have the money to repay the company. He was facing some problems, which made it hard to return the money. One of his plane that was parked at the airport, which also contained some cartons, was kept under police surveillance. He told the government that his aircraft would become useless if it continued to sit idle like that for long. He said that it was necessary to start it daily, because if it wasn't started every day, its engine would stop working and wouldn't start again. So he requested permission to start it daily to keep the engine in good condition. The government then consulted technical experts, and the experts confirmed that if it stayed idle for too long, the engine would become faulty and wouldn't work again. They recommended that it be started daily to keep it running well. After that, the government and the court agreed and told Daniel that he could start his plane every day. He was allowed to go to the airport every morning at 6 a.m., accompanied by police. Under police custody, he would start the plane. And so he began this routine. Every morning at 6 a.m. he went to the airport, started the plane, stayed there for a little while, and then returned. This continued for a long time. He would go daily, start the plane, and return. The police officer who accompanied him started thinking that this was just routine. Daniel came every day, started the plane, and went back. He wasn't doing anything suspicious. Gradually, the police officer became a bit careless, thinking Daniel was harmless and wouldn't try anything. But this was all part of Daniel's trick. He wanted the police to think he posed no threat and that he was only starting the plane. He continued doing this regularly. Then came the day, September 23rd, 1963. That day, like usual, Daniel went to the airport with a constable who had custody of him. Then he would go to the airport. After reaching the airport, he would start the plane's engine. Once the engine was started, the plane was supposed to move. He would move the plane just a little, but only on the ground, and then shut it off again. On that day, too, he did the same, started the plane and took it to the runway. Slowly, the plane began to pick up speed. Now, the police officer who was with him, since he had seen this happen daily, taking the plane to the runway, but never actually flying, didn't think much of it. But that day, the officer noticed that the plane's speed was increasing more than usual. It kept getting faster and faster. The officer was shocked, and right in front of the officer's eyes while he was watching, the plane suddenly took off. So the airplane actually lifted off from the airport, and now Daniel turned the plane in the direction of Tihar jail. The distance between the airport and Tihar jail was just 10 to 15 kilometers. He started flying toward it. Then that police officer quickly informed all his senior officers that Daniel had escaped with the plane. Then Daniel flew the plane above Tihar jail. He circled the jail 3 times. Each time he threw cigarettes and chocolates, a lot of items fell down from the aircraft. After completing 3 rounds, he changed course and flew toward the Pakistan border. By the time the officers realized what had happened, they sent 2 fighter jets after him to track and bring him back. But by the time they could catch up, Daniel had already crossed into Pakistan's territory. When Daniel reaches Pakistan, he lands his plane there. After landing, he holds a press conference where he says that India deliberately kept him in custody and didn't let him leave. He claims, "I didn't do anything wrong, but still, they put me in jail and weren't even willing to let me go. That's why I had to escape and come here." Now everyone was wondering, who was Daniel? Why did cigarettes and chocolates fall on Tihar jail? What was he doing in India? Here's the story. Daniel was born in Texas into a very wealthy family. During World War II, he joined the American Navy. After the war ended, he moved to San Francisco. Once there, he married a girl from a rich family. After marriage, he started his own airline business and named it Transatlantic Airlines. His airline soon came under scrutiny. It was accused of transporting refugees for long durations, and later it was also alleged that the airline was involved in smuggling rare and expensive animals. At that time, Indian airline company Air India made an offer to Daniel's airline. Daniel's cargo planes were in high demand, and India needed cargo transport for a construction project, a railway project in Afghanistan. Since there were limited options for cargo transport between India and Afghanistan, Air India gave a contract to Daniel's company to use his cargo planes to transport goods to Afghanistan. Air India had made contracts with many airlines, and one of them was Daniel's company because he also had cargo planes. So, as his company got involved through the contract, he came to India. In India, he used to meet rich people and stay only in big hotels, usually 5-star ones. When he arrived in India, he learned that there were many kings and royals here who needed weapons. Earlier, he used to smuggle animals, but later he also started smuggling gold and weapons. He was the one who provided smuggled weapons to those royals. When the police came to a 5-star hotel in Delhi to find him, they found Daniel there, which led to his arrest and imprisonment. During his time in Tihar jail, he made many friends inside. He used to tell them that once he got out of jail, he would help them too. When the opportunity came, he flew over Tihar jail and dropped various items into it. When chocolates and cigarettes fell into Tihar jail, the prisoners were very happy. Many of them grabbed whatever they could. After that, he escaped to Pakistan, where he held a press conference. Not long after, he left Pakistan and went to London, and from there he kept moving around to different places. There was also a man he became very close to while in jail, and together they were involved in smuggling operations. Now that he had escaped from India, the Indian police and government were actively searching for him. Then comes the date of June 8, 1964. On that day, a private airline took off from an airport in Pakistan. There were 2 people on board. One was the pilot and the other was the co-pilot. They were supposed to go to Iran, but instead of heading there, they crossed into Indian airspace. Before entering India, they began flying the plane at a very low altitude to avoid detection. Once they entered Indian territory, they had a plan to land the plane about 80 kilometers from Mumbai, where some people on the ground were supposed to give them a signal. That's where they intended to land. However, when they reached the planned landing spot, no one was there to assist them. By then, the plane had also run out of fuel, which forced them to land. But in landing, the plane crash, things didn't go as expected. Still, both of them managed to escape safely from the plane. Residents living nearby came running to see what had happened, as they had never seen a plane land so close to their village. They were shocked and curious. When they saw the 2 foreigners coming out of the plane, they caught them and took them to the nearest police station. So they go to the police station. The police ask them what they're doing. They immediately say that they had taken off from Amritsar airport, but their plane ran out of fuel and crashed down here. Then the police go to the location where the plane had crashed. While inspecting the site, they say, "We will take our important things from the plane." While they were removing items from the plane, they quietly took out expensive goods, especially Swiss watches. To distract the authorities, they packed all the valuable items in a bag and managed to sneak it away. So that was the whole incident about the plane crash. Later, the police present them in court. In court, they narrate the same story they told the police, and the judge believes them. The judge also says, "Take care of their plane so." And so the court orders them to be sent back. They carry all the goods, which were packed in the bag, board a bus, and reach Mumbai. After that, the pilots already knew that both of them could get caught, so they made fake passports. Using those, they traveled to Pakistan. The next day, when the authorities found out that no such flight had actually taken off from Amritsar airport, the government realized something was wrong. It was alarming that the Indian Navy didn't even realize a foreign plane had entered Indian airspace. This caused a huge uproar in Parliament because it showed just how poor the security was. Anyone could fly in or out, and no one would know. The pilots eventually reached London from Pakistan. Once in London, one of the pilots has a change of heart. He reveals that his partner's real name wasn't what he claimed. It was Daniel, and he was involved in smuggling. When this information comes to light in London, the authorities there arrest Daniel. He also admits that their plane had crashed in India and that they had smuggled some goods. When Indian authorities hear of this, they send a team to London for further investigation. During questioning, it's confirmed that this Daniel is the same person who had once been imprisoned in Tihar jail in India, but his sentence had been waived. Still, he had managed to escape from India. Due to a lack of complete information, Indian authorities are unable to arrest him. So Daniel continues his smuggling activities. A few years pass. Eventually, he is about to deliver a consignment of smuggled goods to Sri Lanka. After heading there, he plans to go. Chennai personally go and deliver the items himself. When he reached India, this news went to informant that someone here came for smuggling, and the informant told the police. Then he was caught. After his arrest, it was discovered that he was the same Daniel who had escaped from their grasp twice before. So he was arrested and presented in court. The trial began, and all his previous crimes came to light. As a result, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. During this time, he filed multiple petitions for bail, but due to his past record, none of them were granted. He spent the full 7 years in jail. It is also said that while he was in prison, he used to tell people that he was an agent of the American Intelligence Agency. He was arrested on August 2nd, 1967, and after serving his sentence, he left. Even after he was gone, people continued to wonder, who was this Daniel, how he would sneak into the country, deliver smuggled goods to people, and never seemed afraid. He kept entering different countries repeatedly and escaping again and again. Many believed he might have been working for a foreign intelligence agency, possibly even the American intelligence agents. In 2000, he got involved in a conflict with a rival gang, during which he was shot. Due to the gunshot wounds, he died in the year 2000. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. There is a huge difference between a judge and an executioner. A judge's job is to deliver a verdict, while an executioner's job is to carry out the punishment decided in the verdict. However, this is the first story where the judge not only delivered the verdict, but also carried out the punishment himself, taking on the role of the executioner. Perhaps this is the story of the most divine punishment in the world. This story is from Iran, set after 1988, following the Iranian Revolution. By then, the monarchy had ended and an Islamic government had been established. Islamic laws were fully implemented, and life was continuing under this new regime. Between 1988 and 1989, in a small industrial town in Iran named Nekka, a girl was born. Her name was Atife Rajbi. She was born into a very poor family. Her father worked as a laborer to earn a living and support his family. When Atife started growing up, around the age of 5, her mother passed away in a road accident. People also say that just a few days after her mother's death, her brother drowned and died. Atife's father was deeply shocked by the loss of his wife and son, and after that, he became a drug addict. Atif was left all alone. Her father was always intoxicated and didn't take care of her. There was no one to bring food and essentials to the house or to take care of her. Because of this, Atife's grandparents took her in and started raising her. She began living with them. As time passed, Atife continued her education and went to school. Slowly, years went by, and by the time she turned 13, a man named Ali lived in her neighborhood. He was around 50 to 51 years old and had previously served as a member of the Iranian army. However, after some time, he left his military job and started working as a truck driver, transporting large loads. Ali lived alone in the neighborhood, though he was married and had children. His wife and kids lived elsewhere while he stayed there alone. He and Atife's family often visited each other's homes and had interactions. One day, seizing an opportunity, Ali forcibly raped Atife and then threatened her. Atife, only 13 or 14 years old at the time, didn't even understand what had happened to her. Fearful and confused, she remained quiet. This abuse soon became a recurring ordeal. Atife found the physical assaults disturbing and unbearable. Eventually, she confided in her grandmother about what Ali was doing to her. However, instead of helping, her grandmother told her to stay silent. At the time, Ali was a former member of Iran's army and held a powerful position as a man in their society. Iran's Islamic laws were heavily biased against women, and men rarely faced severe punishment for their crimes. So, when Atife used to be abused, she was silenced and told not to tell anyone. This continued for almost 2 to 2.5 years. During this time, Ali kept raping Atife. One day, Atife realized that her grandmother could do nothing for her. Overwhelmed with despair, she broke down in front of her father and told him everything. For the first time, her father listened to her and assured her that it was okay. He told her that he would take her to the police station to file a report against the one who had wronged her. Atife's father then went to the police station and lodged a complaint, stating that an ex-member of the Revolutionary Guard named Ali, who lived near their house, had been abusing his daughter for the past 2 to 2.5 years. After the report was filed, the police should have immediately taken action by arresting Ali, interrogating him and bringing him to the police station. However, instead of taking action against Ali, the police did the opposite. They took Atife to the police station and put her in jail. Atife was arrested because, under the prevailing Islamic law in that region, if a girl engaged in physical relations with a man before marriage and lost her virginity, she would be punished. As a result, Atife was arrested for losing her virginity before marriage, a crime that carried a severe and harsh punishment. So, the police there did not arrest the man who had been abusing the girl for the past 2 or 2.5 years. Instead, they arrested the girl who was the victim. They put her in jail and accused her under various laws, claiming that she had been in a relationship with another man before marriage. The girl tried hard to explain and defend herself, but the police refused to listen to a single word. In that place, there was also a law stating that if someone was assaulted or physically abused, neither the court nor the police would investigate or find out the truth. Instead, the burden was on the victim to prove their own innocence. And now, all of this responsibility fell on Atife. She had to prove that she had no involvement and that she was forced into this situation. Atife was taken to the police station where she was subjected to extreme cruelty. She was beaten and tortured. It was even said that several police officers raped her in the station. She was not allowed to meet her family. One day, her grandmother, crying, came to the police station to check on her granddaughter's condition. When she met Atife, Atife told her everything that had happened in the police station. She explained that she was in such a terrible state that she could no longer walk on her feet. She had to use her hands to crawl like an animal. Hearing all this, her grandmother stepped out and spoke to some people. She said, "As long as she remains in this police station, I don't think she will survive. The police are torturing her. We must take this matter to court. And if the case goes to court, there seems to be hope for justice." So, after trying, Atife's grandmother and father took the case to court. The case was registered and the whole story began. The arguments started, and as time passed, many hearings took place, and soon the year 2004 arrived. It was the month of August. In the courtroom, it was evident to everyone that the charges seemed biased. Everyone believed that nothing wrong would happen to Ali, that he wouldn't receive any punishment, and that all the blame would fall on Atife. It seemed as though Atif would be held responsible. During the heated courtroom debate, Atife, wearing her hijab, stood up and judge made a comment. Hearing this, Atife became furious. She realized that the judge would not be on her side or deliver justice. In a fit of anger, she removed her hijab and confronted the judge, saying, "What you are doing is not right. You should be punishing the real culprit, but instead you are punishing the one who has already suffered enough injustice."
Although Atife spoke, she did not consider how or in what tone she said it. In Iran, there is a strict hijab law that mandates wearing it outside the home. However, in an emotional outburst, Atife removed her hijab in court. As a result, all the unrelated men present saw her face, and when the judge saw this, he became furious. In his anger, he told Atife, "I don't know what the final verdict of your case will be, but before that, I am sentencing you to life imprisonment right now in this courtroom for removing your hijab." As soon as the judge announced this punishment, Atife couldn't control herself. She was overcome with rage because she realized that justice would never be served in her case. These people wouldn't do justice to her. Instead, they would portray themselves as righteous and virtuous while condemning her as wrong simply because she was a woman. She knew that for months in prison she had endured severe beatings, torture, and inhumane treatment. Even before this, for 3 years, she had suffered unbearable injustices, yet no one stood up for her. So now, who would come to her aid? Even if something worse happened to her, no one would fight for her. Atife was so enraged that just for removing her hijab and showing her face, she was sentenced to life imprisonment. The judge, who had remained silent throughout months of hearings regarding her case, had suddenly given this verdict within minutes. While the actual case was being dragged on indefinitely, her punishment for this act was decided in an instant. Overcome with fury, Atife bent down, removed her sandal, and threw it at the judge. The sandal struck the judge's chair, making him even more furious. In his rage, without hesitation, the judge declared another punishment. Atife was now sentenced to death. Then, after that, the court is completely dismissed in a fitting manner and the entire courtroom disperses. Atife then taken to the police station. Exactly a week after her conviction, on August 15th, 2004, she was sentenced to death by hanging. She was taken to the main square of her city, where a crane was called in. A noose was hung from the crane, and Atife was to be hanged from it. The judge overseeing the case was not only a magistrate, but also the city's administrative officer and a cleric. The execution was deemed necessary, and instead of delegating the task, the judge personally carried out Atife's hanging. The entire event took place publicly, attracting a crowd of hundreds. After the execution, Atife's body remained hanging for about 45 minutes. Later, doctors arrived to examine the body and confirmed her death. Her remains were then handed over to her family, who took her to a nearby cemetery for burial. However, when her family visited the grave in the following days, they found that her body was missing. The grave had been disturbed, and Atife's remains were nowhere to be found. Her family inquired among locals about who might have taken her body, but despite their efforts, the corpse was never recovered. The media got wind of the situation, and although Iranian media lacks complete independence, some reporters subtly raised the issue. They mentioned certain revolutionary figures in their reports and newspapers. Then Atife's father sent his daughter's birth certificate to the Supreme Court. When the birth certificate was presented in the Supreme Court, they were shocked because an agreement had been signed between Iran and international organizations stating that no person under 18 years of age would be sentenced to death in Iran. However, when Atife was sentenced to death, she was only 16 years old. This was a huge embarrassment for the Iranian government because they had executed a girl who was just 16. When the issue of her age was brought before the Supreme Court, they reviewed the entire case and ruled that Atife was innocent and had committed no crime. They ordered that she should be released from prison. The case was rushed through the courts without much consideration, and she was sentenced to death quickly, possibly to save the judge's reputation. The judge, in his arrogance, hastily sentenced Atife to death after being insulted when she threw a slipper at him. However, the Supreme Court was unaware of Atife's execution. When her family received the decision, they approached the Supreme Court, pleading that their daughter had already been executed. They explained that another judge in the country had sentenced her to death and personally overseen her execution. By the time Atife was proven innocent, it was too late. She could not return. No matter how many people declared her innocent afterward, it was of no use. The time to prove her innocence was before her execution, but no one stood by her then. Now, even if the entire nation acknowledged her innocence, what difference would it make? There was no benefit to it because the punishment had already been given. She had already died. After everything that had happened, the intelligence forces had learned how much disgrace this had caused. International organizations were also watching the case, focusing on Iran. Various international media outlets in different countries had started reporting on it, leading to severe damage to Iran's reputation. And Iran's reputation deserved to be tarnished because of what they had done. Following this, Iran's intelligence organizations arrested Judge Ali and a few others involved. The judge was also punished, and Ali, too, was set to receive his punishment. However, if these organizations had taken action earlier, perhaps that girl would still be alive today. People can distinguish between truth and lies, and imprisoning those responsible after her death was not some great act of justice. They only did it to protect their country's image, to save their own reputation, and to uphold their legal system's dignity. They did not do it for her. If they had still declared that girl guilty, it wouldn't have mattered because she was no longer in this world. They should have acted when she was crying, begging, insisting that she had done nothing wrong. She had always been a victim, whether in the police station, at home, or in court. But back then, no one opposed the judge. No one stood up against the police officers who abused her. Even now, whether or not they punished those responsible, it made no real difference. If they had punished them, it wouldn't change anything now. Because if that girl, Atif, had been alive, she might have felt that justice had been served. But now, she was gone. To call this justice after her death would be a grave mistake. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. You will be shocked to learn how an ordinary person turns into a dangerous serial killer and uses terrifying conspiracies to kill people. This story is about a serial killer. But why did this person become such a deadly serial killer, and what circumstances forced him into it? The reason behind it is even more shocking. This story begins in the Ramanagara district of Karnataka, India. Ramanagara is about 50 kilometers away from capital city Bengaluru, and within it there is a place called Kudur. In this town lived a man named T. Sidalingappa. He worked in the fabrication department and occasionally visited several red light areas in Bengaluru. During one of his visits to a red light area, he met a woman named Chandrakala. Over time, the two continued to meet frequently in the same red light area, and their bond grew stronger. As more time passed, their friendship turned into love. However, Chandrakala was a sex worker in the red light area, and Sidalingappa was fully aware of this fact from the beginning. Despite knowing everything, he fell in love with Chandrakala. On the other hand, Chandrakala believed that Sidalingappa truly loved her because he accepted her despite knowing her reality. This made Chandrakala fall deeply in love with him as well. She felt that Sidalingappa was meant to love only her. Sidalingappa also cared for Chandrakala deeply and always looked after her. After some time, Chandrakala shared details about her family with Sidalingappa. She told him, Before becoming a sex worker, I lived with my family. After completing my education, I wanted to get a job to support my household. Siddharlingappa was shocked to hear this and asked her, "Your family is so good, and no one in your family was ever a sex worker before. So how did you end up becoming one?" Hearing this, Chandrakala revealed the reason behind her becoming a sex worker. She explained that while she was searching for a job, she met a few women from her own village. Since they were familiar to her, they convinced her to go with them, promising to help her find a job. Trusting them, Chandrakala agreed and traveled with them to the city of Mysore in Karnataka. However, once they reached Mysore, these women, under the pretense of helping her find a job, forced her into prostitution. Chandrakala told Siddharlingappa, "I never wanted to do this work by choice. Becoming a sex worker was not my decision. It was my helplessness. At that time, I fell into their trap of deception and conspiracy." Besides this, Chandrakala also told Siddharlingappa that when she asked all of them to let her return to her family, they told her, "You cannot go back home. If you do, we will tell everyone that you were a sex worker in Mysore. How do you think your family and the people in your village will see you after that?" After hearing this, Chandrakala, in order to save herself from this humiliation, kept the matter hidden and never revealed her secret. However, the money Chandrakala earned from sex work was partly sent to her family, but her family had no idea about the kind of work she was doing. Chandrakala had told them that she was working a regular job there. After listening to Chandrakala's entire story, Siddharlingappa became deeply saddened. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he even started crying. He then said to Chandrakala, "You did the right thing by telling me about yourself. If you hadn't, I would have never been able to understand you." Hearing this, Siddharlingappa thought to himself that Chandrakala was exactly the kind of woman he had been searching for. Besides this, Siddharlingappa also understood the helplessness behind her situation. Then he asked Chandrakala about the people who had deceived her and forced her into this work. Chandrakala began revealing the names of those who had pushed her into this trade. There were a total of 7 people. Among them, 4 were women, and 3 were men. Siddharlingappa carefully noted down all the details in a list based on what Chandrakala told him. She said, "These are the 7 people who ruined my life and turned it into hell." Siddharlingappa then told her, "Now I will do what needs to be done." With that, he carefully kept the list with him. As time passed, the month of May began. During this time, Siddharlingappa was in Bengaluru. Among the names on the list, one of them was a sex worker who was currently living in Bengaluru. In fact, she was the first woman who had betrayed Chandrakala. This sex worker was nothing short of a villain in Chandrakala's life. Siddharlingappa decided to take revenge on her. One day, he contacted her and asked her to meet him at a secluded place. The woman arrived at the location within a short time, as Siddharlingappa had instructed. As soon as she got there, Siddharlingappa strangled her to death. After killing her, he began dismembering her body into small pieces. Then, he scattered these pieces in different locations outside Bengaluru. This was Siddharlingappa's first murder. Now, instead of 7 names, only 6 remained on his list. As May was coming to an end, Siddharlingappa left Bengaluru on May 30th and traveled to Mandya, as that was where he expected to find the rest of the people on the list. Chandrakala also came to Mandya with him. She had an acquaintance in the area who helped them find a rental house to stay in. Chandrakala and Siddharlingappa moved into this house together. On May 31st, Siddharlingappa invited the second woman responsible for Chandrakala's suffering to his house. Within a short time, the woman arrived, unaware of what awaited her. Inside the house, Siddharlingappa strangled her to death. After killing her, he dismembered her body once again. Then he placed the body parts onto his motorcycle. Chandrakala sat behind him on the motorcycle, holding the pieces. The 2 of them rode some distance to a nearby river. There they began tossing the body parts into the water at different intervals, ensuring that they were scattered.
After dumping the body parts into the river, both of them return home. As time passes, 3 weeks go by, and then T. Sidalingappa opens his list again. This time, Sidalingappa looks at the third name on the list. On June 8th, 2022, he contacts this woman and invites her to his house. Just as he had strangled the first 2 women to death, he strangles the third woman in the same manner. Sidalingappa then dismembers her body and gets on his motorcycle. Along with him, he also places the body parts on his motorcycle. Chandrakala also gets on the motorcycle with him. At night, Sidalingappa rides his motorcycle toward the same location where they had disposed of the first woman's body parts. However, this time they dump the third woman's body parts 25 kilometers away from that location before heading back home. But later that same day, on June 8th, 2022, a man was passing by the banks of a pond in Mandya. He came across a dead body lying near the pond, and upon seeing it, he became extremely frightened. The body had been mutilated so badly that only the lower half of the torso was found on the shore, while the upper half was missing. The sight was horrifying. The man immediately contacted the police and informed them about the discovery. Upon hearing about the incident, the police quickly arrived at the scene. When the police reached the location, they were shocked to see the condition of the body. They immediately began searching for the remaining body parts, but despite their efforts, they found nothing else in the area. However, a few days later, another dead body was discovered in a different pond, 25 kilometers away from the first one in Mandya. Since this location fell under a different police jurisdiction, another police station's team responded to the scene. However, the first police team also learned about this new discovery. Upon hearing about the second body, the first police team decided to visit the second police team to gather more information about the case. They suspected that the second body might be the missing upper half of the first body they had found earlier. To confirm this theory, the first police team arrived at the second police station. However, when they examined the second body, they were shocked to learn that it was also missing its upper half, just like the first one. This confirmed that both bodies were of different women, and their upper halves were missing. The similarities in the way the 2 bodies had been mutilated led the police to suspect that both murders had been committed by the same person. Now that the police had gathered these crucial details, they officially launched an investigation into the case. This case was going to be extremely challenging for the police because both bodies were missing their upper halves, making it very difficult to identify the victims. The police then began their investigation by searching the Mandya region and surrounding areas. As they expanded their investigation, they looked into missing women cases across Karnataka and neighboring states to determine how many women had gone missing and remained unaccounted for. Meanwhile, the forensic team continued examining the 2 bodies the police had recovered. During their analysis, the forensic team determined that the 2 women were likely between 25 and 35 years old. They then shared this information with the police. In an effort to identify the victims, the police printed and posted numerous missing person posters in the surrounding areas, displaying the details provided by the forensic team. The police had compiled a list of women who had gone missing from Karnataka so they could track down those who had disappeared. At the time, the IGP in charge formed a total of 9 police teams to investigate the case of the 2 dead bodies. Each of these teams included 45 police officers, and their primary task was to gather information about the 2 missing women. They needed to determine who had murdered these women and why. To uncover the truth, all the teams began their investigations in the surrounding areas. Based on the forensic team's findings, the police team started searching for women who were between the ages of 25 and 35. Across Karnataka, the police teams identified 1,116 missing women who fit the criteria. All of these women had disappeared from their homes. With so many missing individuals, it was extremely difficult for the police to extract relevant information about the 2 specific women they were searching for. However, they continued their efforts, hoping to uncover clues about them.
To gather more details, the police teams visited the homes of these missing women and questioned their families about their disappearances. During the investigation, the police teams discovered that the two women they were looking for did not match any of the missing women from the list. This was because more than half of these women had been missing for a very long time. However, from the condition of the bodies, it appeared that the victims had been missing for a significant period. Additionally, some of the missing women had disappeared after the two bodies had been discovered. The police continued their investigation, gradually narrowing down the list as more and more women were ruled out as potential matches. In the end, only a small number of women remained whose details the police still needed to verify. As the investigation progressed, the month of June passed and July began. During this time, a police officer traveled to a village in Bengal. Upon arriving, he learned that a woman had also gone missing from this village. Further inquiries revealed that she had disappeared at the beginning of June. This led the officer to suspect that she might be one of the two missing women they had been searching for. The officer collected some of her photographs from her home. As he examined one of the pictures, he was left in shock. On June 8, 2022, when the police had discovered the lower half of a body, the clothing found on it matched the clothes worn by the woman in the photograph. This strengthened the officer's suspicion that she could be one of the victims. The officer then asked the woman's family about her mobile phone and number. Once the police obtained her phone number, they retrieved her call records. The records indicated that her last known location was in the Mandya area. Given these findings, the police became convinced that this woman was indeed one of the victims. They then showed the recovered clothing to her family, who confirmed that the clothes belonged to their daughter. With this confirmation, the police were certain that they had identified one of the victims. However, while they had now uncovered the identity of the woman, the search for her killer was still ongoing. Now, the police re-examines the remaining call details of this woman. As a result, they come across multiple phone numbers. The police then begin calling these numbers. After repeatedly making calls, they identify 3 numbers that seem suspicious. The police suspect that one of these 3 individuals might be responsible for the woman's murder. Because of this, they start monitoring these 3 phone numbers closely and investigating their owners. Eventually, they discover that one of the numbers belongs to a person named T. Sidalingappa. The police then call Sidalingappa and have a conversation with him. Soon they find out that the last known location of the murdered woman and the last known location of T. Sidalingappa were the same. Additionally, the date and time also matched. This deepens their suspicion of him. Shortly after, the police arrest Sidalingappa and bring him to the police station. At the police station, the officers interrogate Sidalingappa, but he does not provide satisfactory answers to their questions. They also show him all the evidence, but he repeatedly denies everything. As a result, the police begin questioning him more aggressively. Eventually, Sidalingappa confesses to the murder of the woman and also reveals that he has killed a total of 3 women. Upon hearing this, the police are shocked. Then one of the officers says, "According to your list, you plan to kill a total of 7 people." However, upon hearing this, Sidalingappa corrects them and says, "No, I plan to kill 8 people in total." The police then ask him about the 8th person. Sidalingappa reveals that the 8th person was none other than Chandrakala herself. The police then ask him, "You killed 3 women because of her, so why did you want to kill her too?" Sidalingappa replies, "After committing 3 murders, I started seeing myself as a great serial killer. In fact, even after killing those 3 women, I remained free for a long time, and the police had no clue about them. I truly believed that the police would never be able to catch me. But then one day I suddenly thought that if I ever got caught, it would be because of Chandrakala. If the police had arrested me, I would have never told them the truth, but Chandrakala would have revealed everything to them. Also, since all of the victims were people she knew, the police might have suspected her too. She could have told someone about the murders. I felt that as long as Chandrakala was alive, there was always a chance that the police would catch me. I also believed that if I killed Chandrakala, then I would be the only person who knew about these crimes, and no one else would ever find out. Because of this, I decided to kill Chandrakala as well. However, before I could kill her or anyone else, the police arrested me. By capturing me, the police not only arrested a serial killer, but also saved the lives of Chandrakala and 4 others. After uncovering all of this information, the police took Chandrakala into custody as well. They did this because Siddhalingappa had not acted alone in the murders of the 3 women. Chandrakala was also involved. These murders were committed with her approval. Furthermore, she was present when the bodies were being disposed of. Because of this, neither Siddhalingappa nor Chandrakala could escape the law, and both of them remain behind bars to this day. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. In the Andheri West area of Mumbai, there is a police station, and at this police station, there used to be an assistant sub-inspector named Rajendra Bhosale. When he was assigned to this station, like in any other police station, each officer was given duties based on their skills. Whether it was investigation work, catching criminals, or administrative duties, officers were assigned roles according to their strengths. Rajendra was particularly skilled at locating missing or kidnapped individuals. He had a talent for solving such cases quickly and effectively. He had solved so many cases that he became very familiar with how kidnappers operate. When he joined the Andheri West police station, the senior officers there decided that all the missing persons cases should be assigned to Rajendra. He was given full details of all the missing children, and he formed his own team to begin the search. Rajendra was assigned 166 cases involving missing or kidnapped children. Out of those, he successfully solved 165 cases, either locating the children or determining their whereabouts, and returned them to their families. Because of this outstanding work, he received a lot of praise and appreciation, and he came to be recognized as an expert in finding missing and kidnapped individuals. Now he had only one case left, 166, and this case was about a young girl who had gone missing in 2013. Time passed. 2014 came and went. Then 2015 arrived, and Rajendra was still working on this case. But no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't solve it. Rajendra lived a bit far from the police station, so he used to commute by train. He always kept the girl's photo with him. During his train rides, he would show the photo to fellow passengers, hoping someone might have seen her or have a clue. Whenever he was assigned duty anywhere, he'd take the photo along and show it to people, his neighbors, people in nearby areas, anyone he could find. Despite all his efforts, he couldn't find any trace of the girl. He tried everything, but even after countless attempts, he found nothing. Then 2015 came, and with it, Sub-Inspector Rajendra Bhosale retired. Even after retiring, one thought kept troubling him. He had solved so many cases, but not this one. Case number 166 haunted him. He always wondered why he couldn't crack it. Even after hanging up his uniform, the officer in him remained alive because of this case. He told himself, even though I'm no longer in the police force, as a human being, it's my duty to find this girl. She's been away from her parents, from her home for so many years. If I can find her and bring her back home, that's all that matters. That's why, even after retirement, he continued carrying the girl's picture with him, showing it to people and constantly asking if anyone had seen her. Rajendra wasn't officially assigned to the case anymore, but he still stayed involved, hoping to find even the smallest clue that could lead him to the girl. He would assure her parents, "Don't worry, I will find your daughter and bring her back to you. You don't need to worry about anything." Her family believed in him. They thought,
He's such a senior officer. He solved so many cases and reunited so many children with their families. Surely he'll bring our daughter back too." For 7 long years after his retirement, Rajendra continued searching for the girl. Then, in August 2022, a miracle happened. He finally found her. The girl was reunited with her family. But along with her return came a new story, one that will make you feel like you've never heard anything like it before. So this happened on January 22nd, 2013. A 7-year-old girl lived in Andheri West. She belonged to a very poor family. Though her family was poor, they really wanted their children to study hard so they could grow up to be good people, build a future, and get a decent job. Because of this, the kids were also motivated to study. There was a school near her home that she attended, and her older brother, who was a year older than her, would go with her. On January 22nd, 2013, both of them went to school as usual. That day, their grandfather gave her brother some money and told him, "You both can have some ice cream." So the siblings went off to school, attended their classes, and when school got over in the afternoon, they started walking back home along the roadside. While walking, the little girl told her brother, "Give me the money Grandpa gave me. I want to eat ice cream." Her brother replied, "It's okay, I'll give it to you. Just wait a bit." But the girl insisted, "No, I want my money now. The money Grandpa gave me. I want ice cream." Her brother said, "It's okay, we're almost home. We'll get it then. I'll keep the money for you. I'll give it to you later." She replied, "I won't go with you." And just like she had done before, she said she wouldn't go with him, but would eventually follow him home. Her brother thought the same thing might happen again. She might trail behind and come home on her own. So he went ahead, leaving her behind. After walking a bit, he turned around and saw that she wasn't behind him. Seeing this, he got very worried and scared. He started calling out for her, saying, "Okay, fine, come here now. I'll get you ice cream. I'll even give you my share of ice cream. Just come back to me now." But the little girl, his sister, never came in front of him again. The little girl's brother got so scared that he started thinking, "What will I tell my family when I get home if I can't find my sister?" So he ran straight back home. When he reached home, he told his family that his sister had gone missing. They responded, "It's okay, she always does this. She must be hiding somewhere nearby. We'll look for her and find her." Her family searched everywhere, but they couldn't find the little girl. Evening came, and still there was no sign of her. This had never happened before. She had always been found quickly. Now even the family was panicking, wondering where she could have gone. They rushed to the police station where Sub-Inspector Rajendra was on duty and filed a missing persons report. Rajendra asked the girl's brother what had happened, and he explained everything. Rajendra then went with the police to investigate every path from the school to the house, again and again, but they found no clues about the girl. Days passed, and there was still no trace of the child. Time kept moving, and eventually, the year 2015 arrived. Rajendra had retired by then. The family was devastated and cried constantly. They still hadn't found their daughter. She was the apple of the family's eye, and especially close to her grandfather. Her family loved her deeply. Each day felt like a new disaster for the family because they couldn't see their daughter in front of their eyes, nor did they have any clue about where she had gone. No leads were coming in. Time slowly continued to pass. Local social organizations also stepped in to help and offered support, but even they couldn't find any information. The girl's photo was shared on social media, but no leads came in. Her pictures were pasted on walls throughout the area, but still, there was no sign of her. Years passed by like this, and then the day of August 4th, 2022 arrived. That evening in the Andheri West area, there lived a social worker named Mohammed Rafiq. He received a phone call on his mobile. When he answered the call, a girl's voice came from the other end. The girl asked, "Is your name Mohammed Rafiq?" He replied, "Yes, that's my name." She then asked, "Are you associated with an organization that helps people?" He said, "Yes." Then the girl asked, "Are you looking for a girl who went missing 9 years ago?" Mohammed Rafiq said, "Yes, we've been searching for that girl for years, but haven't been able to find any leads." The girl on the phone said, "All right, I'll video call you," and ended the call. After that, the girl video called him. Mohammed Rafiq answered the call, and both were now on a video call. The girl said, "I'm going to show you a girl now. See if she is the one you've been searching for." When the girl showed a child on the screen, Mohammed Rafiq was shocked. It was the same girl they had been looking for over the past 9 years. Without wasting any time, he took a screenshot of the girl during the video call. Then he asked the girl for her address. After talking to the girl and confirming everything, he rushed to the kidnapped girl's house to meet her parents. When he got there, he showed them the screenshot he had taken from the video call and told them, "Your daughter is safe and I've found out where she is." When Rafiq shows the screenshot to the girl's parents, the moment her mother sees it, she starts crying loudly and says, "This is our daughter." When they go to the police station, the officers there quickly make decision due to this case. The station was already aware of the situation. Everyone at the police station knew that Rajendra was working on this case and that, under any circumstances, this child had to be found. The police get to work. They take the family, Rafiq, and head to the area Rafiq had been shown during a video call. There, the police knock on the door of a house. A young girl opens the door. As soon as she speaks, the mother, who came with the police, recognizes her voice. She starts crying loudly. The girl suddenly starts screaming and crying too, and runs to hug her mother. In that moment, the child recognized her mother, and the mother recognized her daughter. All the other family members who had come along also confirmed, one by one, that she was indeed the same girl. It was now certain this was the girl who had gone missing in 2013. The police then brought the girl back to the station along with her parents. After completing all the legal formalities, she was finally sent home with her parents. This was the first part of the story. The second part is, how did they suddenly find out about the girl after 9 years? When that girl was found, she was already 16 years old. And when the police carried out further investigation, they found out that a man named Harry Joseph D'Souza was behind the entire story. The story begins when the child was asking her brother for money to buy ice cream. She got angry and stayed behind, and then her brother left. Harry had been watching everything, and he knew the girl was insisting on having ice cream, but her brother wasn't giving her any. So Harry approached the little girl and said, "Come on, dear, I'll get you some ice cream." The girl was only 7 years old at the time and didn't have the understanding to know who to trust and who not to, so she happily agreed to go with him. That's when he kidnapped her and took her away through another alley. Harry then decided to take the child to his home. His house was only 500 meters away from the girl's home. He and his wife deeply desired to have children of their own. That's why D'Souza kidnapped her to raise her as their own daughter. They could have legally adopted a child through proper channels, but instead, they chose to commit a crime. When Harry brought the girl home, he told his wife everything, and she agreed to the idea. They fed the girl a lot of food and took great care of her. They asked her what she liked to eat and made it for her. The girl didn't feel scared at all. She thought they were really nice people. They gave her ice cream, pizza, and burgers, so she was happy. The child was truly enjoying herself, but she had no idea what was actually happening, that she would be separated from her real home forever. On the other side, when the girl didn't return, her parents were extremely worried and scared. They went to the police station and filed a report. Soon after the report was filed, the girl's photo began appearing in newspapers and on TV channels. Her pictures were posted in every neighborhood. That made D'Souza and his wife very anxious. They feared that if anyone from the neighborhood saw the girl at their house, they would return her to her real family, especially since the distance was so short. Out of fear of losing her, they took the child from Mumbai to Karnataka. They lived at home with her for a few days, but eventually they enrolled her in a school hostel. Then his wife told the little girl, "You will study here, and we are your parents now." So they even got her admitted to school under their names, declaring themselves as her mother and father. Things continued like this for a while. They had moved to Mumbai and left the girl in a hostel there. For the next 3 years, everything went smoothly. They loved the girl very much. But in 2016, everything changed. His wife gave birth to a daughter of her own. The same couple who had taken someone else's daughter now had their own biological daughter. After their daughter was born, their love for the kidnapped girl started to fade. They brought her back from Mumbai to live with them and made her part of their household work. She was no longer allowed to go outside, so she couldn't tell anyone where she lived or reach out for help. They kept her isolated to make sure no one could find her. The girl had been only 7 years old when she was kidnapped. Over the years, her memories started to fade. She couldn't remember where she came from or where her real home was, but she still remembered her parents' faces. However, the man stopped talking nicely to her. He always kept her inside the house, scolded her, and never let her play. Time passed, and their biological daughter, D'Souza, grew up in comfort, while the kidnapped girl was treated like an animal. They made her do all the housework and forced her to take care of their daughter. They didn't even give her proper food. Her condition worsened. Later, they began sending her to nearby houses to work, telling her that she needed to earn money for the household. So she had to work both inside the house and outside, just to survive. Back in 2022, those people had a house a little distance away from their own, where a child needed to be taken care of. So they sent the kidnapped girl there and told her to go work, take care of the kids and earn some money. There, another girl did house cleaning work. The girl who worked as a cleaner in that house and the kidnapped girl became friends over time. Gradually, the girl who did the cleaning started sharing more about herself, where she lived, who was in her house, etc. The kidnapped child had been threatened not to talk about herself or her home, so she didn't say anything at first. But as the friendship grew stronger over 5 months, she started opening up. She said, "I'm not the real daughter of my parents. They took me out to get ice cream one day and then kidnapped me. Since then, they've been abusive. Ever since they had their own child, they don't even feed me properly." When the cleaning girl heard this, she was shocked and asked, "Are you a missing girl?" The kidnapped child said yes. The cleaning girl was a bit educated and often came across missing children photos. She started paying attention and found a photo of a missing 7-year-old girl, which included a phone numbers to call if found. She tried calling the number. The first 4 numbers didn't go through. Either no one answered or the numbers were off. On the 5th number, she got through. It belonged to Mohammed Rafiq. She video called him and asked if he was looking for a girl who went missing at age 7. Rafiq said yes. She showed him the now 16-year-old girl on the call. When Rafiq saw her face, he immediately recognized her as the missing girl. He then took the girl to the police station along with her biological parents. After learning the full story, the police went to D'Souza's house and brought in both D'Souza and his wife for questioning. The police filed a kidnapping case against both D'Souza and his wife. However, only D'Souza was arrested, and his wife was let go. The question is, why didn't the police arrest his wife too, if her name was also listed in the case? The thing was that D'Souza's daughter, who was 6 years old, was completely dependent on her mother, because neither of them had any relatives. As a result, they couldn't leave the child anywhere else. She always stayed with her mother. That's why the police let his wife go, because the daughter was still young. Then the police presented this matter before the court, and together with the court, a decision was made that until someone is found who can take proper care of the child and ensure her safety, the mother cannot be sent to jail. Now, coming to Rajendra, the girl was finally sent to her home. He met her family, and there was a sense of peace in their hearts because they had found the 166 case number, and the girl had also returned safely to her home. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable.